verses of Scripture coming out of Romans chapter 10. Beginning at verse 11, it says, "For the Scripture saith, Whosoever believeth on him shall not be ashamed. For there is no difference between the Jew and the Greek. For the same Lord over all is rich unto all that call upon him. For whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. How then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? And how shall they preach without a preacher? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace and bring glad tidings of good things." I began to think, what could I say about my pastor and what he means to me? I've known Pastor Banks for better than 30 years. He was not my pastor at that particular time. He came to Omaha and was stationed out there at Alfred. And while he was at Alfred, he decided that he needed a church home here in Omaha. He came by an invitation of another minister at that time, or another person that came to Pleasant Green in the name of Henry Fortune. He was not a deacon at Pleasant Green, although I was the chairman of the ministry. He was put on a deacon at Pleasant Green, and I worked with him to the best of my ability. But the Lord called him and said, "I'm going to elevate him." And once he was elevated, I found that the Lord had touched my pastor. Because it says, how can they preach except they be sent? And my pastor was sent to us. I thought about other things that he has done. One of the things I like is that whatever he has to say to the church, a lot of times I find out about it before the church does. Because he comes to me as a chairman of the ministry, "What do you think?" I found out that he is a God-fearing man. He does not want to get ahead of God, and he does not want to be behind. He wants to walk along and have the Lord lead him. And if he leads him, we are able to follow our pastor. Our pastor came and he said, "I'm going to have a service on the 5th Sundays where the deacons are able to bring a word. What do you think?" I said, "Well, Pastor Banks, at the time we had Reverend Macmillan, he did the same thing earlier." So I said, "It's a good thing." We went ahead with it. Went a little bit further, he says, "We need to have time with our families." The last month of December, our church goes nowhere. If you send us an invitation, don't expect us to be there, because we spend time with our families. That told me that he believes in a family. I tell my pastor, "I can't be here for this." He says, "Well, what's up?" I said, "Well, my wife, my children, Brother Walker, Deacon Walker, be with your family." That lets me know that he cares about my home life as much as he cares about his. I do know that when I come to Pleasant Green, that I'm going to get a word, because he says, "Study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman that needeth not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth." He wants you to follow him in the Bible. He is not going to get up there and say, "It says this in the Bible," and have no backup. He wants you to know that the Lord is leading him wherever he is leading us. And I know behind every minister there is a first lady. My first lady I've known her almost as long as I've known my pastor. When she came and they decided to be united in holy matrimony, her father was not able to be here. I was asked to step in as her father, to give my first lady to my pastor. Everybody in my church, or our church, Pleasant Green, notifies or knows me as almost Uncle Haskell. Pastor Banks will not say Uncle Haskell. Sister Banks will not say Uncle Haskell. My first lady is dad and daughter. I have a relationship with them. That lets me know that they care about me as much as I care about them. My pastor, I can go to him with anything and he will listen. And if he wants to talk with me, he knows that I will listen to him. I love my pastor. I love my first lady. I love the children. But most of all, I'm thankful that the Lord sent my pastor to Pleasant Green Missionary.